Hi, come on in.
And join in. It's the Very Merry Life. Hi, I'm Mary Hendricks, and you might know me as that relatable AF Mama over on Instagram who hopefully feels like an old friend at this point. And if not, it won't be long till it feels that way as we get raw, unfiltered, and very unapologetic in all things motherhood, marriage, sex, and more. From moments worth savoring to moments worth surviving, get ready to leave feeling seen and supported. You have a friend here now, so hey, take a seat. What's going on? Hi, everyone. I have Mia Tobin with me today, and this is a real life mom feature. So obviously, if you're hearing this episode on a Wednesday, every month on a Wednesday, I put out one episode extra, and that is the real life mom feature. And if you're brand new to not knowing what that is, this was an idea that was kind of pitched to me. You can listen to the first episode. I would have to look up what episode it is, but it's with Chrissy Lanier. She approached me. She was just a regular, ordinary mom that just approached me and said, hey, I would love to come on, share my story. And then it kind of spiraled from there where I was like, I would love to get that and bring on a guest that isn't necessarily like an influencer. It isn't necessarily in the limelight. Not that that matters, but I think sometimes when we see those people, we kind of put them in a different category, which I mean, they're still real life people at the end of the day, but I think just hearing regular perspectives on things when it's not necessarily in the limelight is a lot more impactful sometimes. So that's what we're going to do today. And we're going to hear a around the world perspective this time because Mia is in lovely, where are you at? Ireland. Yay. Which I think is so cool. So Mia, introduce yourself and then we'll get to chit-chatting.
Perfect. So I'm Mia. I'm living in Kildare in Ireland. I was born and raised in Dublin, which is only 30 minutes from here. Nice. And I'm here with my husband, Gavin, and my two children. Finn is nearly 6 and Isla is 2.5.
Nice. Awesome. I love it. I think that is so cool. You know, what's funny is when I go through like my insights and stuff like that to see where my biggest followers are from, it's United States, Canada, Australia, and then UK. I have so many UK friends, which I just think is so fun. So whenever I see it, I'm like, that is so cool. I'm going to the UK in November. So like I said to you, if you're in London, November, come and see.
That would be awesome. No, we're going to Cardiff in December or November. No, we're going in November, the end of November to see a live.
That's in Wales, right?
Yeah. So we're going to fly over. We only just booked our flights. I never knew how hard it was to book flights from Ireland, from the Republic, over to Wales, but it proved very difficult and very expensive.
Why?
I don't know. We thought it would be really, really easy, but only one airline had a flight. The flight arrives an hour and a half before the show starts as well. So,
oh God,
it's going to be
Is it Ryanair?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Unfortunately, I wish it was Aer Lingus.
Yeah, Ryanair. We took that a lot when I was in London. I studied in London for 6 months when I was in college. So when we'd fly for like weekend trips and stuff like that, I went to Dublin for a weekend, and that was an interesting experience. Oh my Lord.
Dublin is interesting from a tourist perspective. Yes. I haven't been. Well, I was in Dublin City a couple of weeks ago, and it's so funny. Like, even though I grew up in obviously the suburbs, I didn't grow up in the city. And even now, like my dad is a taxi driver and he'd be like, oh, it's on Wexford Street. Do you know South William Street? And I'm like, no, Freddie, I know where Trinity College is and Stephen's Green and Temple Bar. So tell me where to go from those places and I'll find you.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Because I'm fascinated. I love meeting people from different countries and stuff. Do you speak Gaelic?
Yes.
Okay. That's isn't that like a dying language kind of? Like it's one of those that's like being held on to, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, so there's parts of Ireland that are called the Gaeltacht, and they are Irish speaking only places. So I mean, it's not as common today, but back in, say, up until the early noughties, there were parts of Ireland where people didn't know a word of English. Yeah. And schools do send students there for the summer. So I was never allowed to go because my mum used to say, I know what goes on there. And I tried arguing until one of my best friends was sent home for being caught in a bed with a boy. And that was that. And I was never allowed to go. But yeah, a lot of kids would spend like 3 weeks a year out of the summer holidays in the Gaeltacht in the west of Ireland. And it would be an intensive Irish course with a lot of fun, obviously.
Yeah, very cool. I think that's cool. I'm fascinated, like I said. So, well, motherhood, obviously you started you followed me. I know we've connected for a while, like in my DMs and stuff like that, which I think is so much fun. I try, for anyone here, if you've DM me, I try so hard to get DMs, but it's just a matter of timing. And I've always just enjoyed our conversations that Mia and I have had. And I know you said you have 2 sons. How old are they?
I have a boy and a girl. So I have
A boy and a girl. Oh, sorry. Yep. Okay.
I have Finn he'll be 6 in September, and Isla is 2.5.
Okay. All right. And how's that?
It's a lot of work. I mean, as you know from the voice note I sent before we started recording the podcast, where Finn climbed into the press and knocked over a box of Rice Krispies, and his only response was, sorry. And then he left it there. And as I was sweeping it up, Isla was shoveling fistfuls into her mouth.
That sounds like my daily
I was like,
life.
you're helping. It's fine. It counts. But yeah, it's work. I mean, motherhood is definitely not what I expected, I suppose.
What did you expect? What did you think it would be like?
I thought it was like, I knew it was going to be hard, but I didn't realize that reflux was a thing. I didn't realize that some kids just don't sleep. And I suppose I didn't realize the effect it would have on my mental health. My mental health took a huge hit with both kids. And for my introduction to motherhood, unfortunately, my birth for Finn was very traumatic, and it was a very rude awakening. I thought it was going to be, lots of newborn cuddles, and he'd be really sleepy and quiet. And no, he was a very angry baby. I mean, he was born angry. He looked so angry when he came out. I remember looking at him. I was like, whoa, what is that thing?
What is that? Yeah.
And he looked
do you find that that's his personality too? Because my mom swears by it. She says that each of the way that each of our kids came into this world is how each of our personalities are. So like my brother, she said the same thing. My brother came into this world just like blazing, and that's how he is. Like he's a little bit of a short temper.
Yeah, Finn is 100 miles an hour. Like he's not. Okay. He does get angry now and then, and he kind of grinds. Like he does this thing. He's taught it to Isla where he clenches his jaw really tight, and now sometimes I catch the two of them doing it to each other, like they're squaring up to one another, and I'm just like, Finn, she'll take you out. Just don't even try, because Isla's just a different kettle of fish. That girl is fierce.
Well, she's a second child. She's second child and technically baby. COVID. Yeah. She's a COVID child. They don't mess around.
She takes no crap. Like I love her, but there are moments where the way she says no to me, I'm like, she means that. Like, I'm not going to have to argue. Like, she's in her vest right now because after nap time, she wouldn't let me put her clothes back on. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We're not going anywhere. It's fine.
It's fine. You pick your battles. It's fine. That's all it is with that age. Yeah. So you talked about mental health and stuff. So after your son was born, you dealt with postpartum depression, I'm assuming?
Postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. Yeah.
Did you know that that's what it was, or did someone else kind of say like, hey, that might be what's going on, or did you have an inkling of an idea?
So what happened was Finn was 7 months old when I eventually went to get help. And the reason I went to get help is because I started hearing voices. Okay. And that's when I realized that something was very wrong. I knew something was wrong when he was born. I knew something was wrong with me. I felt different. And I kept waiting for this to click. I kept waiting for it to feel natural. I kept waiting for it to start working the way I thought it should work. And for the first 5 weeks of his life, we met speed bump after speed bump. And it just felt like someone was pushing my head under the water. And every time I felt it was coming out, I was going back down. And I kind of kept it to myself because I didn't want anyone to think I was a bad mother, or, I actually lived in fear that my mother-in-law would take him away from me. And like, she's never suggested that or anything, but I had convinced myself that if she took him for even an hour, that I would show up to her house and she'd be like, you can't have him back. It's fine. You're not any good at this. I'll keep him. And she's wonderful. You know what I mean? Obviously we have a great relationship, and she's inside watching them right now. But I had convinced myself that my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law were just going to keep him.
Okay. Was that a little bit of psychosis then? Would you say that was a little bit of psychosis?
Yeah. Like I was very much not okay especially in the first few weeks, but overall I just wasn't okay. But I lived in absolute terror of somebody taking him from me, to the point where I would put him in the car seat to leave, and then I just couldn't bring myself to leave the house. I just felt like I was like, someone's going to take him on me. Someone's going to take this child away from me. And at around 7 months when the voices started, that's when I was like, okay, holy shit, I'm like, somebody else is driving the car here and I don't like this anymore. And I began to worry that I was going to start believing that what they were telling me, really casually telling me to kill myself. Like I'd be cleaning the bathroom and, and I'd hear a voice say, oh, you should just write down Finn's routine so that everybody has it. And then you should just kill yourself. Like that's how casual it was in my mind.
Yeah.
That I was like, this is scary. Like I can't stop this. So I went to the doctor and I explained it to her. And I said to her, I think it's postnatal depression, but I don't know. And she said, it's definitely postnatal depression, but you also have postnatal anxiety. Yeah. And that was kind of where it kind of came to a head that I was like, please help me because I'm lost here and I don't know how to fix this anymore.
Yeah. And what was their, if you're comfortable sharing, what was their fix? Like, was it medication or was it therapy? A combination of the two?
Combination of the two. So I was put on, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like the mildest anti-anxiety medication and only a very low dose. And then I actually had a therapist previously, before I got pregnant. I was struggling with just a bit of mental health issues. So I just reconnected with her. And I started having cognitive behavioral therapy to try and kind of get myself out of it. And it did work. I mean, by the time Finn turned 1, I did start to feel a little better. And then, by the time he was 2, I was fine.
That's good. Yeah. And how about with your daughter, Isla?
We'll be back after a quick break.
Eye-Opening Moments podcasts are real-life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcasts.
So Isla is a rainbow baby. So in January 2020, I was pregnant with twins. And sadly, both twins passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And I did struggle with depression after that because I was beyond devastated. And we had struggled to get pregnant anyway. And then we gave up hope and we found out we were pregnant with Isla. But her pregnancy was hugely complicated. Like I was regularly in the hospital A&E thinking I had lost her. And then I went for the 20-week scan, obviously had to go alone, which was awful because, you've already lost a baby. And then you're having to do all these things alone. And they picked up a potential hole in her heart. I had an incompetent cervix. So at 28 weeks, I went into labor. And I was put on bed rest in the hospital. And then I got to come home and then I was put on bed rest again at 30 weeks because they were absolutely certain that she was coming. This was the start of December 2020. And it was really funny. One of the days, I mean, I'm one of those people, if you don't laugh, you'll cry. And I have a weird sense of humor too. So I appreciate if not a lot of people find this funny. But on the Sunday, I'd been in for a week. And on the Sunday, the doctor came in and he said, I think you might go home. I think you'll be okay. And then he came back and he said, actually, can I examine you really, really quick? And I was like, sure, no problem. Like at that stage, so many people had been there. I was like, I don't know, whatever, it'll get me out of this hospital. And he did. And then he very quickly went, I have to go talk to somebody. And he came back and he went, I just touched the baby's head. So you're not going home. I was just like,
so was she delivered early then?
So we made it they let me go home the week before Christmas and we made it to 35 weeks. And then on the 27th of December, I decided to get out of bed and clean her room. Yeah. And I stood up off the floor. My waters broke.
Oh my gosh. Well, still, that's like a really good, for getting that far, that's still pretty darn good.
It's amazing. Like she was born 6 pounds 4. So she was still, and she's like, Finn is small for his age and he always has been. Isla is a tank. Yeah. She's nearly as big as him. She's big. She's tall. She's sturdy. Like she's just like, she's like a brick wall, that kid.
Yeah. Imagine if you went full term. That would have been.
Yeah. The midwife laughed about that. She was like, this kid would have broke records if
she blessed you that way. She was like, I'll give you a little little help there, Mom.
I know, yeah. I did actually scream, "You've got such a fat head," when I was giving birth.
That's so funny. 6 pounds. So at 35 weeks, you're 6 pounds. So my, I have a niece that was born early at 31 weeks, and she was over 4 pounds. And I always say that, I'm like, oh my God, what would she have been if she had made it that far? I was like, Lord have mercy. But yeah. They come when they're ready. That's the thing.
Yeah, no, she was determined. She was very determined. And I, to be honest, I'd made peace with it. I kind of knew it was coming. And my mother-in-law, she said to me, she saw me on the 26th. And she actually said, she had said to my sister-in-law, I'm pretty sure Mia's going to have that baby in the next couple of days, because I just looked, she said, I looked so uncomfortable. And I was on the verge of tears. Like, I was like, I'm done, guys.
Well, I don't blame you. Pregnancy at that end, at that stage, regardless of how your pregnancy is like the worst thing. It's not the worst thing, but it is the worst thing. Like, there's just, you're no longer in that second trimester if it feels good, where it's like you're cute and you're pregnant and whatever. Once you teeter past 29 weeks, you're just like,
you're like, no, I'm done. I'm swollen. I'm uncomfortable. And like, I had Isla had 3 rounds of steroids at that stage in the womb. So I was really bloated and uncomfortable and just, I mean, we knew we weren't going to make it full term. So we were just happy to make it to 35 weeks and actually have a baby, like have an actual baby at the end of it was miraculous. But
and how did you how was your mental health on the second round after that?
It wasn't great. And it was funny because my husband picked up on it before I did. And one evening he just said to me, "Are you okay?" And I just said, no, I'm not okay. And I was like, I think I'm back there again. And I kind of knew, but I was trying to keep it going. So we were in the middle of, Ireland went into lockdown the night Isla was born. I actually watched it on the TV in my hospital room. So my parents didn't get to meet her. My mother-in-law was the only one who was able to help us, which was great. But then my husband had to go back to work. He had to. So I was left alone with 2 kids, a brand new teeny tiny little baby and a 3-year-old who he was excited, but he kept asking me when she was going home to her real family. So, he was excited to an extent, but then he was like, this is great, but when is she leaving? Without my mother-in-law, we wouldn't have been able to get through. I have no doubt about that. But it definitely affected me, not being able to get help. And I think most babies are like this, but Isla was extreme in that she was like a kangaroo baby. She just lived on me and she just would not let me put her down. And sometimes she would choke really, really badly if you put her down. So there was a fear of putting her down as well. So I would spend a lot of my days just like not even having gone to the toilet, like, just out of fear that if I put her down, she'd start choking and I'd be, too far away to help.
Yeah. See, and I feel like that's so important to know because so for me, I didn't have, I dealt with postpartum anxiety bad this third time. And I definitely dealt with it. I think it got a little bit worse and worse and worse with each pregnancy, which I know can happen with postpartum depression. It actually can get worse with each pregnancy. Especially if you're not aware of it. And I don't think I was aware of it, but I struggled with that. But with that, I was able to put my kids down and I was able to get a shower while they chilled and stuff like that. But and sleep, my kids were always decent sleepers. So I like hearing different perspectives because for me, when someone asks me on Instagram, about sleep or about certain things like that, I'm like, I don't want to be this is what you should do because my babies didn't require that. So many babies are so different. And I think people blanket statement how babies should be treated and how this whole thing needs to go. And it doesn't happen that way. It just doesn't happen that way necessarily for everyone. For me, my kids don't nap out on the go. I am a routine person. I need to be home for nap. And I've had people tell me constantly being be flexible, bring them out, go do things. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way for us. If I do that, we're screwed. And everything else.
Yeah, no, we are the same. And both of my kids, unfortunately, have been awful sleepers. So Finn was nearly 3 by the time he started sleeping through. And then we had Isla. And Isla has treated us to 2.5 years of very little sleep. In the last few months, it has improved. But I'm like you. We have to be home at nap time. We have to have a routine. And I did find that having a routine helped with my anxiety. If I knew what was happening next, I could get, from one end of the day to the other. I can't wing it. Now that Finn is older, I can wing it with him, but Isla's still 2.5. So she still has a 40-minute nap. Today she napped a little bit longer because I was getting myself ready, and I basically ran into her room and I was like, oh, you've been asleep for too long. Wake up. Come on. You've been asleep for 43 minutes, not 40. Let's go. You won't sleep tonight. But she, she's improving slowly. I've only been up twice this week. And now that I've said it, I bet you she'll be up tonight.
Knock on wood. The first rule of kids sleep is not to talk about kids sleep. So we both have screwed ourselves. So don't worry. It's fine.
We're like great sleepers.
Yeah. We're in it together. It's fine. They were up at 5:45 this morning. So there's that. My kids sleep through the night, knock on wood, for the most part. They wake up so early where it's like ridiculous because I stay up late. They go to bed and then I stay up late because it's like the only time I get to myself, and then I'm tired as heck the next morning. So
yeah, we're the same. Finn is normally up between, I'd say, 5:45 and 6. The other day, though, I don't set an alarm in the morning because he's normally in. And the other day, he came in at 6:45, and I was like, why did you do that to me? You're my alarm clock. Like, we have to go.
I know, right?
But yeah, I'm the same. We stay up late. I mean, my husband and I both work full time. So, working all day, and then you've got the kids in the evening. And yeah, it's the only time really when they go to bed that you can be like, hello.
Yeah. Hello. How are you? Who are you? What's going on? Well, and actually I wanted to spin into that. So I know you work full time, both, obviously your mom full time, and then you're a office worker full time too. What do you do for work, and how do you balance all of that?
I am a senior financial crime consultant. And I work from home. So I do have to go in on occasion. Not very often, but there is actually, I have to go in on Monday, and I don't want to. But if I didn't work from home, I wouldn't be able to work at all because my husband Gavin is a plumber, and most of his work is in South Dublin, which is about an hour from here with no traffic. And he's traveling on one of the busiest roads in Ireland. So he tends to leave before 6 a.m. To get to his first job before he, otherwise he'd be coming home at like 7 o'clock at night, and that just, we can't do that. So it's up to me in the mornings to get the kids up. And then Isla goes to creche, Finn goes to school. So I tend to try and get Isla down to creche for 8 o'clock, and then Finn starts school at 8:20. So we park up near his school, and we walk across with some of the other parents. And then I'm home for 8:30. And most people probably get breakfast, but I run upstairs and make beds and do washing. And then I have a 9 a.m. call every day. So then I hop on the call and then I have breakfast.
Is that daycare?
Yeah.
Is that the equivalent of daycare?
Yeah.
Okay. So how does that work? I want to, because obviously you're in Ireland, we're in the United States. Daycare in the United States is not, I don't want to say garbage. It's a garbage in terms of expense. It's ridiculous. Like, we're in a childcare crisis. Like, in the United States, it's ridiculous. What is it like in Ireland?
It's expensive. Now, outside of Dublin, it's not as bad. We can't afford to live in Dublin. I don't know how anyone can afford to buy a house in Dublin, because we make a decent living, but we still couldn't afford to buy a house in there. But childcare costs in Dublin are astronomical. I have a friend who pays $2,500 a month for 2 kids for full-time daycare. Whereas here, it goes down by age. So when she first started, it was nearly €800. Now it's gone down to, I think it's $560. And then when she goes into preschool, the government have free preschool education. So her preschool hours will be covered, and then I just have to pay for the rest of the day. Okay. So it's free from like 9 until 12, and then from 12 until 5, I pay for that. So it'll probably be, I can't remember what it was for Finn. I think it might be 400 and something for her.
Not bad. Yeah, not bad. That's we're doing that with Spencer. He just got accepted. We have like a public preschool thing too, where Cassidy was there, but Cassidy has a speech delay. So my oldest was there for a speech delay, and that was the only way up until this past year that you could get in. And now finally they've opened it up to the general public, but there's only so many spots. So they do a lottery, and Spencer got in, and I jumped up and down, and I was like, I am so happy about this. And it's going to be all day. So it's like from 8:30 to 2:45, 3 o'clock, which I'm so pumped for, and I think it's like $500 a month, which fine. Daycare wise, it's like nothing.
Yeah.
But on a flip side, this is like my first time ever doing something like this, and having someone watch him for this long and him be this little. I'm dealing with a little bit of guilt in it. And I don't mean to, like, I don't want to, because I know it's so okay, but it's so hard. No one like ever
No one talks
prepped
about
me.
it. Yeah.
No, well, and so I'm a stay-at-home mom technically, but I've also my podcast, and I have Instagram and all these things that really at this point have turned into a full-time job for me. And sometimes I go back and forth, and I'm like, I see moms on Instagram that, are homeschooling their kids and have decided to leave their careers to homeschool their kids, and want, talk about sending their kids away and stuff like that, and how that doesn't sit with them right and stuff like that. And I'm like, am I doing something wrong? That I'm like, I need him out of the house. I need my kids out of the house. That way I can focus on this other stuff. But then I'm like, well, should I stop focusing on this so I can spend my time? Am I going to regret this? And I'm like, no, because this is me pouring. I really enjoy what I do for work. Like, I really enjoy this. I think a lot of other career women do as well. And I think sometimes we forget that's so important in
I agree. And the thing is that, so when Isla was born, I had worked for a company for 12 years. And when I was on maternity leave, they offered me voluntary redundancy. And I took it because I'd been there for 12 years and I knew I was going to get a decent amount of money, and I wasn't happy anymore anyway. I wanted to do something different. And when we got the money, my husband and I did have conversations, and we added it up, and we said, well, there's enough money there for me to stay home for 3 years.
Yeah.
But, and this, I don't mean this in a bad way, because I do love my children, but I personally felt that was a waste of money. I felt like we had been given a lump sum, and I felt like it would be a waste not to do something with it. You know what I mean? Like, that if we got to the end of 3 years at home, I still have to then try get back into work, which is not easy if you've been out of the workforce for 3 years, But also it wasn't going to be long term. If it had have been a case of stay home for 3 years and then my husband was going to make enough money for me to stay home forever with the kids, I might have considered it. Although I have often joked that I would not make a good stay-at-home mom if my kids were at home all the time. They would need.
I say that all the time. I'm like, I'm such a good mom when my kids aren't home. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm a great mom. I miss them when
I'm a great one. Yeah.
But, for Isla, because she's a COVID baby, it is vital for her. She has no social skills. Even now, I've never seen her play with another child. She plays with Finn. Although this morning she threw a watermelon toy at his head and then cried, because that's what siblings do. You hurt your older sibling and you're like, oh, I'll just cry and no one will get out to me. But she'll play with him to a certain extent. But the creche, whilst they're not concerned, they said that she does interact, but she does prefer her own company. I do think it's really, really important for her to go and be there and to be, among other children. Even if I could stay home, I would still want her to go at least twice a week for the interaction with other children. I think it's so important. She's, she loves them. And to be honest, the creche that my kids go to is amazing. Like, they love those kids. And I have the same guilt as you have. And like, my kids are taken care of by people more than they are me Monday to Friday, because I only get them from 5 until 7 when it's bedtime. And I feel a lot of guilt around that. But at the same time, can't afford for me to stay home. I need to work. And B, it is so good for them to be out with their peers, to be playing. If they were home all day, they'd probably just watch TV. I mean, the TV's been on in there for most of the day.
Well, and that's what they do. And I'm like, and Spencer loves learning. Like, he loves school. He's so excited. I'm excited just to have him with teachers that will know how to work with him. He's a smart little cookie. Like, he's too smart, where it's actually sometimes concerning, where I'm like, okay, is there something more going on? Where I'm excited for him to be out and do that. But also, like, I'm trying to balance it out, all these balls at this point. Like, I'm trying to juggle so much that the time that I do spend with them
Mm-hmm.
hasn't been great. I rather like know that from this window to this window, I can get the things that I need done, whether it's laundry, my work, making dinner. Like maybe I can make dinner early and not have to worry about all that stuff and worry about the kids being outside in the front yard and stuff like that. And that way, when they do get off the school bus, we have from 3 to whenever they go to bed to be able to quality time. And I think that's, I feel like the moms of our generation, regardless of where you live, we've been told that it's like quantity over quality at this point, where it's like you have to spend all this time with your kids. And if you don't, then you're a bad mother.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you're a shit person during that time, as opposed to having less time and having better interactions? I would think that that's far more important. And I feel like that's like getting lost.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think as well, like, I love my job. I really enjoy what I do. 16-year-old me would probably cringe if she heard me say that, because she wanted to be in a punk rock band forever. But I do really enjoy what I do. And the sense of fulfillment I get from it is great. So if I have a really good day in work and then the kids come home and I'm just like, oh, hey, you guys. Now, I mean, I don't know if I'm the only one here, but do you ever you look forward to them coming home and then they're home 5 minutes and you're like,
okay,
yeah, I've had enough of you now.
Yeah.
Because there are days where they come home and they've both, last week, one of the days, they both had a really, really bad day. And within 5 minutes of coming in the door, the two of them were crying over different things.
Yeah.
And I just stood in the kitchen.
You're like, oh, great, everyone's home. Yeah.
Like, I was so excited to see you guys. And as I had said to you before, my husband is currently building an extension onto the side of our house. So I am solo parenting, and I'm not going to complain, because that man is a saint and he is working, from sun up to sundown, like 15, 16 hours a day between his full-time job and doing the extension. So I try not to, when he comes in at like 8:30 at night, I try not to be like, oh God, that was so hard. Because, I know what's going to happen is we're going to end up not having an argument, but we're going to end up doing that whole tit for tat thing. And I don't want that. But it's definitely been an experience to be completely on my own with them all the time. Especially bedtime when you're tired, and then nobody, like Isla thinks all of a sudden bedtime is negotiable.
Oh, yeah.
So, and she does this little, no, like you say, Isla, it's time for bed. And she'll just look at you and go, no.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
we do multiple timers. So we have like a 10-minute, a 5-minute, a 3-minute, a 2-minute, 1 minute. And then after that, I'm like, done. Let's go. Like, we're done after that one. Is she closer to 3 at this point? Is she getting closer to the age of 3?
She'll be exactly 2.5 next week. So she'll hit 2
So
weeks.
so she's getting up there where she starts to learn the art of negotiating. That's and she watches her brother do it, like he goes to bed no problem. He goes to bed after her, and I think we're in a sweet spot now where she hasn't really copped that yet. She hasn't figured that out, and I dread the day that she realizes that Finn stays up 40 minutes longer than she does, because she'll just be like, I'm not going if he's not going. I think we'll have to change strategy, like maybe just like let him have like it's his tablet in the bed or something like that, or pretend you're going to bed and then sneak back downstairs. Just let's help me out here. But we're in that sweet spot right now where she doesn't really cop that he's still up. Thank God. The little years are interesting. That's us right now. We're like, it's I solo parent sometimes because my husband's in law enforcement, so sometimes he'll work at night. It's intriguing. It's how I get through it. And I'm like, at this point, it's a lot of deep breaths and just kind of like game face on until we just get to the finish line of things. But that's why routine is so important. Like I was saying that some people are like, be more flexible. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. The only way I'm going to survive is with routine.
I love when people say, oh, she did a nap today, she'll sleep tonight. And you're like, oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
You come on over at 1 a.m. when she's screaming and she doesn't know why she's screaming, but she screams. Someone said that to me. And then that night she was up from midnight till 4 a.m. she's part, we think she's part Banshee. That girl can scream. My God. It's the kind of scream that makes your insides curl up as well, that you're just like, oh, it's such an attack on my senses.
Do you ever find yourself when you know that it's boiling? Like, do you ever, when they're like bubbling before they let it out and you just like, hold your breath and you're like, oh, it's like you clench your stomach the moment before they let out a scream because you know it's coming.
It's
the
very
worst.
funny. And it's weird because I'm sure you're the same. You know your kids cry. So when Isla waits at night sometimes and she gives out, I know I don't need to go to her because I know all that's happened is she's lost a dodie or pacifier, I think is what you call them. So I'm just like, give her a few minutes. She'll find one and she'll pop it back in. But the other night she had no sleeping bag on because we've had like a freak heat wave in June, although it's gone. It's raining all day today. And I've just spotted my kids are in the garden in the rain. So that's amazing.
Mud.
But the other night she let out this really weird scream and I was like, oh, that's new. That's not normal for her. And then she kind of, it was like somebody was hurting her. Like it was this weird noise. I can't quite describe it. And my husband was like, leave her. I'm sure she'll go back to sleep. And then she screamed this like blood curdling scream. And I just looked at him and I went, no, something's wrong. I was like, you go make me a bottle. I'm going in there. And because she had no sleeping bag on, she had wedged her foot between her wall and her cot. But it was like sideways and twisted. I thought it was broken when I first saw it.
Some kids have broken their legs because of that. Yeah, I've heard of that before. Craziness. I love it. I love meeting people I love getting different perspectives, but I love hearing different perspectives from, like I said, a different country, because I know we do things different. I know maternity leave. I meant to ask that. Do you guys get a longer maternity leave?
So in Ireland, you get 26 weeks paid maternity leave. On top of that, you get the option of 16 weeks unpaid parental leave. And then for the majority of companies, you accrue holidays. So then you can take holidays. So for Finn, I was off. My full leave was, I think, over a year. And then because I had the postnatal depression, I was off for a year and a half. So I think it was 4 months I was on sick leave as well. But I had already had, a year and 2 months off. And for Isla, because she was born premature, if you have a premature baby, your maternity leave, you get extra. So I got an extra 5 weeks of maternity leave paid because Isla was born early. Yeah. So they only brought that in the last couple of years. But basically it was because a lot of parents of premature babies would be leaving the hospital when their maternity leave was finished and they'd have to go back to work. So now you don't have to start, your maternity leave gets added up. And
I don't think we have that in the United States. I would be curious. I have to double check that because I'm not really familiar with maternity leave because I've never really had to take it. But I don't think we have that in the United States because I know, like I said, my niece was born early, but I don't think my sister-in-law, I don't think she also had to deal with maternity leave because she was her own employee. Like she was her own business. And my brother, I know his business, so they started paternity leave. That's like in some companies, but it's company based. It's not like a nationwide mandate, which is something that I think is a bunch of bullshit. I wish they would figure that out because I think it's only like 8 weeks, 6 weeks.
I think it's
nuts.
I think it's 6 weeks here, but it's the same. So it's, you're allowed to take it, but my husband works for his dad. And unfortunately didn't have the option to take it because with Finn, he worked for a company and he took 2 weeks off and then he went back to work a day early and I haven't let him forget it since then.
My husband didn't take anything off. He took off a week. Did he take off a week? Yeah, he took off a week with each. Or no, I think he took off a little bit longer with Spencer. And I had C-sections with Spencer and Haley, my last two. I think he only took less than a week. And I didn't fault him for it. It wasn't him. It was because he's a police officer. They don't have paternity leave, but they have family leave. However, because it's such a machismo thing, that if you take it, you kind of get looked down upon. And even with paternity leave, like I know when my brother was doing paternity leave and stuff, like my dad, who is, this guy that my dad's been working in private business for, his entire career. He even was like to my brother, like, be careful because if they see that you're replaceable, they'll replace you. Like it's one of those things where it's like, they have paternity leave, but you probably shouldn't take it type of mentality, which is so stupid. But again, paternity leave is one of those that's like company based. I think maternity leave, I think depending on where you work, I think it's only 6 to 8 weeks for the United States, which is absolutely bonkers.
That's crazy.
It's awful.
I couldn't imagine. I was very fortunate that we could afford for me to take the 16 weeks unpaid with both, because I just couldn't imagine leaving them. Like they were both well over one. By the time with Isla, I was. So we have a lot of protections in Ireland. So with Isla, I took the voluntary redundancy when she was 3 months old, but legally I had to finish all of my planned leave before I was made redundant. So I took the voluntary redundancy in March 2021. I actually wasn't made redundant until January 2022. And then I got my new job in May. And then, unfortunately, when I got my new job, Isla got very, very sick and we almost lost her. But I was very, very lucky that we also have force majeure and special family leave in the company I worked for. So there was never a question of, like, you know, you have to use holidays or this is not acceptable. They were very, very supportive through the whole thing.
Yeah. That's so scary. Yeah. No, I mean, the United States has so much work to do. That's why I'm intrigued to like hear about how other countries are doing it. I have no answers for that, but it's one of those that like I hear from moms that are working outside of the home. And when I hear about it, I'm like, it's just absurd. I can't imagine bringing my 6-week-old baby and dropping them off. Like at that age, they're still kangaroo babies. They like want to be, they think that they're still inside you for the most part. It's like, it's wild, but
and creches in Ireland, most of them don't take a baby under 6 months anyway, because they just don't. It's not really like, because you get your maternity leave anyway, it's not really a thing that they will take. The majority of creches won't take them under 6 months.
Yeah. And okay. And then the last question, with your struggles with mental health after having a baby, did you ever find that you got pushback? Like, have you found that Ireland, because I know United States, the big topic of conversation here is that women, especially moms, kind of get like gaslit a little bit, where we kind of get pushed off and postpartum health isn't really taken as serious. Do you find Ireland takes that more seriously?
I think there's more initiative here in terms of, you know, supports. But I think it depends on who you speak to. So for example, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but my mother-in-law would very regularly remind me that I should just be grateful for what I have. You know, like you should be grateful. But there's more support in that if you go to your GP and talk about it, they're quicker to refer you. They're not quick to medicate, because with Isla, I wasn't medicated. The doctor said to me, do you think you need medication this time? And I said to her, honestly, I'd like to try therapy first. And if I'm still struggling, absolutely, I want medication. And I only stopped therapy last winter. I think I stopped therapy because I just didn't have time, which is really depressing when you think about it. I just didn't have time to you know.
Same with me. I tried therapy and I had to stop because I couldn't fit it into my life. So
I was like, I'm sorry, I don't have an hour a week. That's just not possible. I mean, I really want to go back because everything that happened last year with Isla and that, I do find I have PTSD, especially when the 1 year anniversary came. There was a lot of moments where I was like, holy crap, that happened. Oh, wow. So I do think I need to go and see somebody again. But no, I think people are more perceptive to it. I think it just depends on what generation they're from and who you talk to. Yeah.
Yeah. Same here. I think we're getting better. I think it's just medical professionals. And again, depends on our health insurance. United States with health insurance, like if you don't have good coverage, forget it, especially therapy. If you can't find someone in network with who your insurance plan is, it's like it costs you an arm and a leg. It's ridiculous. I remember I reached out to a therapist who was outside of my insurance plan, and for however, like per week, it would have been $200 per week for me with therapy. I was no.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and at that point, I think what's so hard is women want it and women want to prioritize that stuff. But when self-care, when therapy starts to feel like self-care, which it is, but I think, and I talked about this with another guest, like I feel like eating, like when I do my check-ins on Instagram, like eating, drinking water, doing things like that. Like I think the reason why it's so needed is we've viewed it as self-care as opposed to basic essential necessity. And we feel guilty sometimes for taking care of ourselves in that way. And therapy gets chalked right in there, where I think that should be a necessity. Like, I think mental health is just as important as getting your teeth cleaned and going to your physical exams. And we don't view it that way because it costs so much, and it is something that we have to carve our, our time to do, and stuff like that, where we kind of view it as like a bonus, where it's like, no, this is just a must. Like, this is a requirement.
If you need me to function, you need me to do this. Yeah. I definitely need to try, and obviously not right now because, I am the person running the show right now. But maybe when, the office is in and the roof is on and all the work is finished. Maybe.
There you go. Maybe then.
Maybe then, or maybe not. We don't know.
Yeah. Well, as long as the option's there, that's what matters. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, this has been such a good conversation. I think this has been so fun.
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, good. Well, with that being said, I don't know if you have any links or anything that you want to say, but I can put your link for your Instagram, or if anyone has heard anything that Mia talked about today and wants someone on their side, or if anyone here is in Ireland and wants a mom friend, there you got Mia. And and we'll go from there. But I think this was great. I love these conversations.
Yeah, no, this was fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Always. Another episode down. Thank you all so much for listening. If you loved today's episode, I would be so appreciative if you would leave a rating and review. I cannot begin to tell you how much those mean to me, but also how much they help me get in front of more eyes and more ears. As always, be sure to check back every Tuesday and Friday for a new episode, whether it's an episode with me and my husband, me and Katie, or just another incredible, amazing guest. Stay tuned for more honest, real, raw chit chat. And hey, do me a favor before you go. Remind yourself how amazing you are, how enough you are, how special you are. And boy, oh boy, I sure am glad to have you here. Thanks, friend.